Welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame with your hosts, Pierre Camus and Chris Moncano.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Endgame. My name is Pierre, and I'm here to help you with all your waiver wire picks each and every week. And right now, let's start with the quarterback position. For information on the other positions, you can check out my separate videos on running back, wide receiver, and tight end. And that's going to be here every single week. If you don't want to miss these videos as soon as they drop, click on that little notification bell at the bottom. Of course, hit subscribe. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment so that we can help answer any of your questions as far as waivers, start sit, whatnot. All right. Now, as far as quarterback, there's obviously a clear headline this week, and that's Dak Prescott. Obviously, really tough. It was tough to watch, and I was watching that game as it happened. I mean, you could just tell immediately when he was pointing down to his foot, and then you saw what it looked like. You just knew the worst was happening. And sure enough, it's been confirmed. He had successful surgery, thankfully. He's in good spirits. So the good news is he's okay. He'll be back next year. Now, from a fantasy standpoint, that obviously raises a lot of questions. All right. So let's get to that first. I really won't go actually into too much depth here because Chris already put out a separate video with instant reaction last night, right after it happened, talking about that whole situation. What are the Cowboys going to look like offensively? Andy Dalton, obviously, now stepping in as a quarterback. How does that affect the wide receivers? So a lot to unwrap there. So definitely check out that video. But let's talk about Dalton specifically for waiver wire purposes this week. If you had Dak and you were riding him to victory for the first 4 weeks, well, Dalton is the obvious pivot here, just because you know what you're getting. He's in a good situation. Obviously, not going to give you the same numbers that Dak was. Could he come out as, a quarterback one for fantasy purposes, top 10, top 12? I don't know if I would go that far, honestly, just because the situation, he does have a great receiving core, but here's the thing. He also has a really good running back named Zeke, and I think they're going to go a little bit more to the running game. They're not going to, well, first of all, they've been passing the ball like crazy because they had to, because their defense is terrible, right? Let's not mince words. Their defense is just god awful, and that's why they've had to pass the ball, and that's why Dak was putting up huge numbers. But here's the thing. Their schedule softens a little bit now. Well, it was supposed to soften with Cleveland, first of all. That didn't quite happen. But even though they've been really rough, I do think at some point, especially now, I think the volume of pass attempts is going to go down just enough that I don't see with Dalton at the helm. I don't see him putting up top 12 numbers. I do think he's kind of a fringe quarterback one. If you've been using Dak and there's not somebody better available, yeah, you can plug and play Dalton and you'll be okay. But again, I don't expect regular 300-yard games. I think that he'll be serviceable. Unfortunately, not a league winner like Prescott had been. So as far as Dalton, yes, you can go and add him. Any quarterback in that offense obviously is going to give you value. And Dalton's not going to make a lot of mistakes. I think he kind of got a raw deal as far as what the fans gave him in Cincy. There was a lot of things going on there that weren't his fault. But anyways, Dalton, obviously, definitely worth an add if you're a Prescott owner, or if you're in a 2-quarterback league, he's an automatic pickup, right? Now, actually, my favorite quarterback for this week, mainly for the short term, but if you need a streamer for week 6, it's Kirk Cousins. It has to be. So the obvious reason is he's going against Atlanta. So you might have heard Atlanta finally did the right thing and got rid of Dan Quinn, who basically ran that team into the ground last year or so. Does that make their defense better? No, it won't. Right? They have a ton of injuries and they're just not performing. So I think you have to stream anybody who plays against Atlanta's defense. It's just they're that bad. Now Cousins didn't put up huge numbers against Seattle. Seattle's giving up a ton of passing yards this season too. He kind of did Kirk Cousins things, which is 249 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's not bad, but they were running the ball so effectively. He didn't really have to pass that much because, Cook was on his way to a really great day until he got hurt. And then Madison comes in and gets, 112 yards as the backup. So the running game was working. And so I don't think that Cousins really was in a situation where he was going to put up big numbers just by default. This wasn't as high scoring of a game as we thought it could be between the two. Kirk Cousins kind of does that, 260 yards the week before, 251 the week before that, week 1, 259. That's kind of what he gives you. But here's the thing, with Cook going out, it's possible if Cook doesn't play this week, again, we don't know officially, if Cook doesn't play in week 6, they're going to have to pass the ball a bit more. Going against this Atlanta defense, I feel pretty confident. This could be his first 300-yard game of the year. So I have Cousins as my top streamer for this week. Prescott, obviously being hurt, makes Dalton number 2. Now, number 3 is a guy you can stream at any time and just see what you get. The true dice roll, and that's Fitzmagic. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he did it again. I mean, what can you say? On the road in San Francisco against the defending NFC champs, lit them up. And he got Devontae Parker involved. Preston Williams had a monster game. Gesicki, even though that team doesn't really do very well, or I should say that team shuts down tight ends, right? Tight ends usually don't do well against the 49ers. Gesicki still went off. So is the Fitzmagic going to happen next week? I don't know. Maybe. We never know when it's going to show up, but there's a good chance it could always happen. He's always streamable, and you know what? He's facing the Jets. Yeah, I'll take my chances. So Fitzpatrick kind of comes in right under Cousins. It's just so volatile. I hate to say it, is the fact that he's playing the Jets might not need to pass the ball as much, just because they should be winning already, but you really never know. So Cousins kind of the safer pick. But of course, Fitzpatrick always has potential for 300 plus yards. And then the next couple of picks I have here round out my top 5 quarterbacks. I'm going to go with Nick Foles, who is kind of Cousins-like in the sense that he gives you a decent floor, but he's not going to give you a boom game. If you're looking for somebody who could go off, yeah, go with Fitzpatrick instead. Foles is all right. I mean, it's not a bad play. It's not an overly exciting play. Going against Carolina's defense that had been giving up a lot of passing yards. Their secondary was bad. They're kind of tightening up a little bit, and that's what worries me. The last couple of weeks, we know they've been playing really well just in general, and their secondary has kind of delivered in terms of limiting quarterbacks when we thought were going to be really good plays, and they haven't been. So this isn't really as exciting a matchup on paper as you might think, but so I prefer not to use Foles. But if you're in a deep league, or again, you have a pivot for whatever reason, got a lot of teams on bye, you could go Foles, and you at least probably won't get sunk, right? I don't think he's going to throw 2 or 3 picks against this defense. And then I do have to mention, even though going on bye next week, week 6, because of the whole schedule change, Justin Herbert, I mean, if you've watched him, the Monday night game just wrapped up. I mean, he doesn't care who's out there. Keenan Allen's out, doesn't matter, right? He's dropping dimes to Mike Williams, who's back. Jalen Guyton is stretching the field. It doesn't matter. He's getting it done. So the good news is after the bye, Allen should be back to full strength, hopefully. And Herbert is somebody who you can pretty much use, I would say, the rest of the year. If you're in a 2-quarterback super flex league, you can keep him plugged in probably every week. Now, if you stream quarterbacks, it's somewhat matchup based, but you know what? He's been pretty consistent regardless of matchup. So I do like Herbert as a guy. If you're in a league and you're disappointed with your quarterback, let's say you're a Wentz owner, or let's say you're trying to fill in for Prescott, or whatever the case is, I don't mind having him as a replacement rest of the season, and you don't worry about streaming matchups. All right. Now, that's obviously depending on your league and your construction. If you have a question about specific start sit advice, waiver wire claim, whatever your situation, hit us up. You can ask me on Twitter at roto_chef. You can follow us on Twitter here, of course, at Endgame Fantasy, or leave a comment in the comments section of this YouTube channel. All right. That's your week 6 waiver wire picks for quarterback. Check out all our episodes. Like I said, Dak Prescott, instant reaction, all the other positions. Hit that subscribe button and follow us everywhere possible. We appreciate it.